Good evening. This is the Carver Planning Board meeting of August 20th, 2013. It's 7 o'clock. If we could please stand to pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, under new business, we'll start with receipt of plans, Form A. It's Cole Hobden, 2224 26 South Main Street.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is actually two lots with two structures on it. One is the old Larches Inn, and the other one is the abutter, Pierre Cole, and they are taking two lots and making three out of it. There was some issues regarding wetlands. Those wetlands have been flagged and approved by the Conservation Commission. And they'll be available at your next meeting, the engineer or the surveyor, to discuss this. Oh, one other thing, Mr. Chairman, I got a message from the town administrator's office that, not just us, I thought it was, but we have to speak up a little bit more with the microphone. At least the TV, I guess, we're getting muted out, so I just reminded myself. It looks a little complicated, but I think in the end of the day, it's pretty straightforward. It has frontage, it has lot size, and it has access, and there's a litmus test for a Form A, as you know.
All right, so we're going to schedule a
For endorsement,
meeting.
if there's any questions you have above and beyond those, let me know and I'll pass them on to the surveyor, and I think we're good to go.
Mr. Hunter, if maybe for the television, for the people at home, what are the requirements for,
Well, a Form A is
Form A.
what we call an approval not required, where a public hearing is not required to subdivide land that's on an existing way. And as long as it has lot size and frontage and technically access to the lot, then the planning board is obligated to approve it. And again, this does have some wetlands in the way, but it looks to me like it's accessible and it meets those minimum requirements.
the lot size is an acre and a half?
Acre and a half with 70% at least of it upland. And you'll see the upland calculations on here as well.
And the frontage is what, 150?
150.
Thank you.
Okay. Want to schedule a time for,
It just be on the next meeting.
Okay,
It's
on the
not a
next meeting,
hearing,
okay.
so I'll just put it on the agenda.
okay, great.
September 3rd.
Okay, we have a sign permit for Amy Walsh, Route 58, Thriftique, 71 Main Street, 1A.
Is Amy here? I'm here. Oh. Have a seat right here, please. You'll see the sign application. They are located at the, I think it's, what do they call it, Cedar Springs Plaza, where, across the street from Mutual Bank. They didn't realize they needed a permit from the planning board. They've already put their sign up. It does meet the requirements. Here they are.
We
Go
put
ahead.
the sign up first.
Excuse me, could you just say your name and your
Jane
address, please?
Walsh.
Thank you.
You know, with Route 58 50. I came in initially, and I was told by the clerk I did need a permit for the sign. But then me and my husband came in and we spoke to the new building inspector. I forget his name.
Frank.
And I told him, we took the old sign down, it's the original sign that was there before, we just had it redone. And he says, okay, you're all set. So I assumed we were all set. Then I got a phone call from Jack, he says, come here, fill out the application, pay the $50, so we did the procedure. I don't have a problem with doing everything we were supposed to do, it's just miscommunication.
Okay.
Frank was new,
Yeah.
he's only been here a month.
What's the size? Same.
Yeah, what's the sign obeys all the,
Well, that's technically the sign is grandfathered, but the message is why we're here, and it meets the colors in the bylaw, yep.
so it does.
Mr. Chair, through you, maybe you talk a little bit about your store, what your hours of operation are and stuff like that. This is your opportunity. We have quite a nice crowd tonight, so.
Okay. We have been open for a month. We are called Route 58 Thriftique. It's a thrift store. We work very hard to have quality inventory, so it doesn't turn into a junk shop. My husband goes to auctions, we take donations, and a little bit of consignment. We have a little bit of everything, something for everyone.
And your hours?
We are open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4.
Wonderful.
And you're on the right-hand side of the building, right? As
Yes.
you're looking at the building?
Looking
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, I
building all
saw
the
it,
way down
yeah.
the end, yes.
Yeah, and, yeah, that had, it was empty for a long time, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that new business there, just going
Yeah,
by
we've cleaned it
last
up
week
and
on my
cleaned
vacation.
inside, and we're gonna be doing some more work inside to fix. I made a deal with the landlord that I would do the maintenance on it.
Oh.
And we put a new air conditioner in, and if you can see the side of the building where the new air conditioner had been fixed, all the rotted wood and everything was kind of an eyesore. So I believe he's gonna be doing some work on the building too, to make it, to renovate it a little bit.
Great.
I do have one question regarding signage. We did order the same sign, the same print, to go on the,
On the marquee.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there anything special we need to do for
Well,
that?
right here, you're in the right spot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're only 12 inches high by, I
Yep.
think,
That
5 feet.
meets the bylaw, yep.
Mr. Chair,
If I may,
Go
is it gonna be lighting, any type of lighting on this sign?
Well, there was a spot before for lighting. The box is still there. I'm an electrician, actually, and I've pulled a permit already in the, at the electrical inspector, just to put maybe a small light on that sign.
A spotlight, there's not
Spot.
gonna be gooseneck or anything?
No, just two small little spots on each side, I think.
Okay.
Those
Thank you.
existed before?
They were there before, yeah. They were all rusted. As a matter of fact, there was like an old box on the side and a pipe running up the building. I've already demoed all that, anything out. And there are a couple of lights on the side of the building that are basically, they're just so outdated and they're rotting away. I'm gonna just take care of those out and put 2 new lights right where the old ones were.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the sign application for Amy Walsh. It's already erected, so we don't need a building permit.
No,
No overhead, no lighting, you wanna put that
no
stipulation in?
additional lighting.
Yeah, we have a picture. We brought a picture of it if you wanna.
I think we had one,
This
didn't we?
one's, that
Oh,
one,
it's a better one.
yeah, it shows it.
I've seen it.
No additional lighting except what's already existing.
We have a second?
Second,
So we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Carver.
Thank you.
congratulations, good
Try
luck.
to make
Thank
my
you, good
round
luck.
table. You gotta get up.
I will, definitely.
Mr. Chair, you might wanna go to F.
All right, yeah,
Not gonna have enough time for,
okay, on the new business, we had the citizens petition. We're gonna do that after we hear from the Edaville Plan revisions. So we'll go to old business.
I don't think.
Oh, we
you-
can't,
Yeah,
okay.
you got 4 minutes. I'm just suggesting if you go to other business, we can get rid of some of the,
I see, okay. I lost track of time there
Yeah.
for a second.
we're having too much fun
Planning
on
board
it.
notes.
Okay, planning board notes. Does anybody,
Mr. Chair, if I could, take this opportunity to put on another hat that I sit with. The Carver Redevelopment Authority has an exterior paint program that's been going on with partners with Abishon Hardware. If anybody's interested, this is a great program that we've established through the town. Please get a hold of Jack Hunter. There's benefits to $20 discount on each gallon of Big Ben's exterior paint for your homes. We're highly encouraging this. We've only had one person apply so far, and which is kind of surprising to us. So please, if anybody's interested and wants to do a little bit of upkeep on their home and get a discount on some paint, get a hold of Jack. He'll get a hold of us to get you the coupons that you need. So thank you. That's it, Mr. Chair.
have anything, Rosemary?
I'm all set, thank you.
Planners notes?
A couple things. We're having our technical review committee meeting on Thursday for crop production services at 10. I think everything's moving along. We've had many meetings internally with them regarding the use and whether it's going to be a sprinkler system or separate buildings. And I think they're pretty much set now. It's going to be one building with a sprinkler system. We also, I've been working with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator on an RFP for the North Carver landfill to put solar panels on it. We have a couple parties interested, see if we can make some money that way. And we've gone out to bid for the rehab and purchase program to buy a foreclosed home, put it into first-time home buyers. We've interviewed the applicants, and the local housing partnership has made a recommendation pending a revised scope, which I haven't gotten yet. So I'll be meeting with the interim town administrator, hopefully to award that contract to the Resource Inc. out of Falmouth. That's it.
Good, thank you. We'll go on to the approval of minutes of July 16th, 2013. We have two in August 6th, but let's do July 16th first.
No, because Will wasn't here. He wasn't here.
I wasn't here on the
Okay, can we do this tonight?
Well, here's the deal. You approved the 16th, but we didn't, it was a 2-0-1 vote because we only had 3 of you.
Right,
I don't believe Will was here.
I was not.
he wasn't.
No.
So the question is, let me find the 16th before we go there. Yeah, oh, I see, the 16th.
There's only 2 of
So
us.
you're gonna have to table the 16th.
Okay,
But I believe you might be able to do the 6th. Let's see. Yep, you could do the 6th, because all 3 of you were here.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the August 6th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
So it's unanimous. And it is 7:15. So let's go on to old business. We have a continuation of the public hearing, Form C, on Sunshine Preserve Rocky Meadow Development Corporation.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, we've had the site visit, and they've submitted revised plans. I've given those revised plans to all the department heads as well as Sean. I see Evan is here from Prime Engineering. I'll just walk you through the letters first, and then I'm sure Evan has a brief presentation. See how I use brief? Essentially, they all signed off on this. They've met all the bylaws, all the department head regulations. They've asked for no waivers. We have a letter to that effect from the Board of Health. We have an email from the fire department, and we have and a letter from our town engineer, as well as I did talk to the building commissioner and the conservation agent. As far as our department is concerned, the only thing outstanding is the R&I account, and I see a check. And that is for the amount owed, so as far as this department's concerned, they've met everything. They've dotted every I and crossed every T.
Good evening. Evan from Prime Engineering, Evan Watson.
Talking to the mic.
Sure.
We've
Yeah, a
had
little bit.
complaints.
Okay. Evan Watson from Prime Engineering, representing Rocky Meadow Development Corporation. Jack pretty much summed it up in a nutshell. I can flip through the plans if you'd like. I don't know where we are with time tonight, but essentially we've gone
We're all
through.
here for you, Evan.
Oh, they are?
I'm kidding.
All right. They usually are, so it's.
They got the joke, you didn't.
Yeah, okay. You see my face go white? Yeah. So essentially, we met with the technical review committee. It did drum up some questions and comments. We've addressed those concerns both with the review engineer, the other boards. We've made the revisions to the plans. Those are the plans you have before you tonight. And essentially, we're asking that you approve the plans.
I'd like to
If
see
you'd
them
like,
go
I
through.
can flip through the plans.
I
Yeah.
would like
Okay.
that, thank you.
And we have the cover sheet, complies with the requirements, both the locus and aerial. This is the lotting plan. There's 2 buildable lots, minimum length cul-de-sac to obtain enough frontage for those lots. And the rest is undeveloped on parcel 3. Here's the grading and drainage plan, which shows the plan profile with the drainage. Shows the house locations, proposed preliminary leaching fields and wells for those lots to show that they could be constructed in accordance with the Board of Health regulations. Let's see. Is the overall plan that shows the detention basin. We did do test pits in witness of the consultant for both the septic system and the drainage basin. The road's not in the cut, so we don't have any problems with drainage there for the regulations. We had a landscape architect develop a landscaping plan, and that's what you see here, and it's signed and stamped by him. And the rest we have construction details and erosion sediment control plans.
If I may, I can add that the challenge they had to not ask for waivers was with the drainage and the profile on the street, but they've gotten around that, and as you can see, Sean has given it his seal of approval.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing. I don't know if anybody's here to say anything about this tonight. Although there were a lot of people here tonight. We haven't seen this many people in a long time, but I don't see anybody coming forward, so
Since last time I was here.
we can close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, everything's pretty much been addressed. I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on Sunshine Preserve and Rocky Meadow Development.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, so,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recommend to you that we table any vote on this so I can write a decision.
Yep.
I want to make sure we get the decision the way you want it and the way it should be, in case any other actions are taken on this property.
We should have that on the next agenda.
So September 3rd, we'll vote. And I already talked to Rich. I'll pass by a draft with him before then.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next is an appointment, and I believe that's what all these people are here for tonight. We have Edaville Railroad Plan Revisions.
Yeah, while they set up, I'll give a brief update on, I know you've got 2 items regarding this. Back in October of 2012, I think it was October, maybe, I got the decision right here. I take that back. In April of 2012, the planning board approved a minor modification for Edaville Railroad, and essentially it was the entranceway with a building and an archway and all that stuff. And then John Della Pascoli came and visited my office about, 3 weeks ago, and asked that he would like to change the way that archway and entranceway is. And I encouraged him, well, obviously you guys are gonna wanna see it. There's no other substantial change other than architecture. Is that about right?
That's correct, Jack.
So, that's why that's on the agenda.
Can I explain?
Go ahead, John.
I'm John Deli Priscoli, the owner of Edaville. I'm going to carry this around.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I don't have Mr. Microphone anymore.
And with me tonight is Arthur Borden, the civil engineer. I asked Arthur to come along in case there was any other questions that may pop up. In a nutshell, this plan here, which, Arthur, if you want to pass those out so they could see them. Well, this is a blown-up, Jack, that I think would be easier for...
They can share 'em.
Thank you.
And I will make the plans available after the meeting for anybody who would like to see them. So, the only thing that's different in this plan, if you look up here, you'll see the original fence line. Can everybody see that right along here? And then you'll see the berm, and that's what we originally came in for, was the parking lot changes and so on. The only real difference here is that you have the 2 buildings. Originally, they were joined with an archway. Instead, we would like to make the archway independent. Look like that. I don't have these to pass out, but I could. Can you see it okay?
Hardly.
Well, Jack has some small ones I gave you.
They're in your packet. It's on A1.
So essentially, it's the freestanding archway versus the connected archway between the 2 buildings. But there's something interesting as well, is that both the freestanding archway and the original archway are both behind the fence, the original fence, from a perspective of what's been traditionally handled here, as you're aware of. That's it.
If I may, Mr. Chair, now I suspect people are here for a different reason under the citizens petition, not just this archway, but technically, that's why Mr. Della Pascoli is here. As a minor modification, if you choose to call it that, of the original archway that you approved back in April of 2012.
The archway is constructed of, the core of it is a steel beam, and then it's wrapped around with architectural, what they call high-density dry-vit, which looks like masonry when you're done. And there's a clock there. There's 2 Victorian, these will be Victorian bollards right here. The bollards? No. The clock, yeah. Well, there was always a clock. There was always a clock. It just, difference is it's independent versus connected.
Are the columns granite, or what are the columns?
Well, Rosemary, what they're made out of, if you look closely in the plan, you'll see there's a shaded area in the middle there. That's a steel 6x6 quarter-inch steel core. And then what they do is they wrap it, and they use, if you're familiar with like a product, it's like cement board, and they put that over it, and then they actually masonry it. It's done with all your office buildings and commercial buildings. It's called, there's two types of drive-it. That's a high-density drive-it.
So they'll put in like a skim coat of.
They do, but it would be very hard to determine that from being actual granite when you look at it.
Very popular in construction these days.
And in theme parks, it's all done that way.
Oh, is that right?
What was there originally? What did we?
Well, what you had is, you had a building. You had there's a building that was connected, and you had an archway just connecting the buildings.
It was just like a roof.
Yeah, it was a roof with an archway, very similar to what I'm doing here. The difference here is I wanted to leave more room here, and working with the consultants, they felt this was a better flow for traffic, and we came up with this revision. Other than that, the plan's the same, and you know, the same sidewalk is being built, the same well, there's over 200 trees being planted. I mean, if you'd like me to review that a little bit, just to refresh, there's 200 trees, evergreen trees. They call them 6 to 8s is when is the size when you initially plant them. But we already have quite a few there. Once this is loomed, and then wildflowers will be hydroseeded on both sides of that berm. The idea behind that was once to soften any noise and insulate the park from everywhere. But on top of that, we also have the streetscape that's been, we've already put all the drainage in. It's all underground. Now we're waiting to build the sidewalk and do the other improvements that we've obligated to do, including the trees. And I bought Victorian lights. I have all those here. They're all ready to be installed. I work with Bill Hallion. I worked with the fire department. We all know that. So I did everything that was required. And we actually put extra drainage in. When we originally came in, there's 5 additional catch basins and leaching pipes between them that's already been installed. That wasn't required, but it's in there now. So we did that with, and there's a turning lane here. This will put the majority of the traffic this way. Right now what happens is at Edaville is the traffic's diverted to all these different parking lots. Now there's one solid parking lot, insulated, both from the neighborhood with the sidewalk and trees and the berm. Much more professional, much more aesthetically pleasing.
Mr. Chair, if I could, through you, so John, the only real changes is you're separating the archway, that's it.
The archway.
Everything else was already pre-approved, because I'm looking
right.
at the plan that's provided here, and you're showing these other buildings here.
Yeah, well, there was always those are all internal though.
Okay, but
Those were-
we're not approving that, we're just approving the archway.
Right.
Is the key point that I wanted to make clear, is that's the only thing that we're approving. And I actually think it's a better plan than what you presented last time you came in.
Well, we do
the
too.
modification, so I think it's a much better look at the entranceway myself.
And the way these berms are terminated here, I should probably discuss that. These are, Rosemary, these are granite blocks, you know, sculpted granite, well, they're precast, but they look like granite. Right here and here, so it's a beautiful, you know, stone, flowers, there's heavy, heavy landscaping here and here. I mean, flowers, everything. And then all the trees. In a couple of years, I mean, it'll just be a wall of green.
So, Mr. Chair, through you to Jack, so we're gonna treat this as a minor modification or just information only? I think, in my opinion, I think it's just gonna be a minor modification, because he's separating from what we previously approved, but,
That's entirely up to you.
I mean, other than that, I mean.
Certainly
it's-
not more than that.
No, I think it's just, it's a better look.
It's an
I think.
architectural detail.
Yeah,
That's really what it
I
comes down
don't
to.
see anything
I
other
wanted
than
to share it
that.
with you, as I always have. I
Yep.
wanted to make sure you were aware, and I always sit with Jack when there's any modifications. You know, from the original.
I don't know what you guys' thoughts are. I don't think it's that big of a change, but
Well, when I first heard that it was the entrances, I thought that it was the entrances at the street. But now, viewing this, and just to see that it was just the entrance, it's from the street across the parking lot. It's just in front of the 2 buildings as you go into the park. And actually, I do think that it does look very nice, better than the original plan. So it is, to me, that's a very minor thing. We had already gone through this, we had already walked with the concerned neighbors at the time. When did we do this walk? We,
Last spring?
yeah, in the spring. I mean, we already discussed all the rest of this. So, this is just a minor modification as far as I'm concerned. Rosemarie, do you have,
No, just if that's all that's being done and that noted in the agreement that
Okay.
Will's writing up, that'll be fine.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve a minor modification of the entrance building and archway as presented on plan dated 8/7/13 for Edaville Railroad.
have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second. And would you, make a notation that that's all that it is, Will? It isn't any other
That's all it is.
in houses or anything?
That's all. That's why I was specific on the entrance building and the archway presented and dated the plan itself that's here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's unanimous.
I assume one of the residents is from there. I did. Perfect.
All right, although this is, we do have a, we'll go to the,
You want these back? Want these back?
we'll go to the neighborhood citizens petition on Pine Street. Although this isn't a public hearing, I see that there's seems to be a lot of concerned people here. And if somebody would like to speak, if you could please step up to the microphone, give us your name and address, please.
Do you have a copy of the petition?
I do, yep.
You might want to read that into the record.
That's probably a good idea.
All right, okay. Before you speak, please.
Received, when it was received.
So it's, we have a citizens petition received August 15, 2013 at 9:10 a.m. And it states, "We, the undersigned, respectfully request the town of Carver issue no additional building permits or approve any plans put forth by the owner of Edaville Railroad until such time as a traffic survey and a wetlands drainage survey can be performed to guarantee that emergency vehicles will be able to get to our neighborhood without delay, and no further water damage will be done to surrounding areas."
I don't know how many people
Yeah,
signed. I can
the,
count them for you, hold on.
yeah, there are quite a few.
31.
So we have 31 people that signed this petition. Go ahead, please.
My name is Jean Taylor. I reside at 24 Pine Street in Carver. I see we have quite a big showing of the employees of Edaville. I'd like to, if I may, ask for a show of hands of which of those employees are Carver residents, if I may. Say about half, One of the things I wanted to address. We received a letter informing us that this was going to be bringing revenue and jobs to the area, so I just wanted to show how many Carver residents were employed at Edaville. And I would like to know how many in all, if, at some time in the future, if I could. As to internal changes, I would like to ask if this letter is still in force? This letter that was signed by Michael Mendoza, the building inspector? This letter still in force for approval inside of the park? It's not grandfathered in,
No.
so it is null and void.
It's not recognized by the planning board.
Very good, very good. Another thing I'd like to address is the age groups of the children that he said on a letter that that's geared for ages 2 to 12. Is there gonna be an age restriction on the park for entrance to the park? Because we have worries about some of the things that are going to be going on over there.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. Just so I can grasp my hands around this. On the petition, you're saying that your biggest concerns for Edaville was traffic survey,
Yes,
wetlands and drainage,
yes.
and you're asking about employees
Only
and...
because there's such a huge show of employees here, I don't understand why there is.
I guess I'm more interested in the application from the citizens.
Absolutely.
And to be clear, if something comes forward in the future, then all those items will be brought up
Okay,
at this board anyways.
okay.
But I'm
So
more
I'll go-
concerned on the particulars of the drainage
I'll
issue
go
and
to
stuff
the
like that,
drainage
if you'd be
now.
so kind.
The catch basins that the owner of Edaville installed in the parking area are not hooked up to drainage. The gesture would mean a lot more if they were hooked up to drainage. As it is, they have no outlet at all. They are perforated catch basins, and they have no diversion to a retention pond, which should be on Edaville property.
Well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Well, a lot of drainage, in Carver especially, is in perforated pipes because we have such good soil. We don't even need detention ponds a lot of the time. And you see in your packet, there's a letter from the superintendent of public works saying that he is pleased with the drainage system there, as installed.
Have you seen this, ma'am?
No, I have not.
I just got it today. I'll give you mine.
I got it.
I won't give you mine.
Well, we are not pleased with the drainage, and we will have to pursue that further, because we still have a puddle running across the street that's a hazard to everybody that goes down that street. It's at the very bottom of the hill, around the corner, and it's flooded every time it rains. The drainage is worse than it ever was before,
And-
now that they've moved quite a bit of the property around and moved a hill out.
And you believe it's caused by the road or by their parking lot?
I believe it's caused by the parking lot, and at this moment, they're
Mr.
actually adding
Hallinan
more fill.
doesn't feel that way.
Excuse me?
Mr. Hallinan does not feel that way. So, I think, well, we can deal with that later maybe, but, I think you guys usually rely on your DPW superintendent.
Okay, well, this was not what Mr. Hallinan and I discussed. He came out and we talked
That's
about it.
yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the other thing that was on the petition was the traffic problem. Let's see. Enlarging the park venue will cause increased traffic flow. Traffic management may need to include lights, wider roads, sidewalks, alternate routes used by GPS. Now they have the GPS, they come in the back way all the time. The traffic there is terrible. These back roads need to be looked at also. Commercial trucks, restocking vehicles, trash removal, public address system, piping music. This is all things that are against our wishes.
Well, we're not looking at these tonight, and whether these will ever come about is another, but we will deal with them as they come before the
Okay.
board.
All right?
Mr. Chairman, are you talking about currently, or you're
Yeah.
worried about the future?
In the future, we have traffic,
Not currently.
not currently, no, the park
Because I
is-
did take the opportunity of talking to the police chief. Now, he's only been on the force, a week? But, as the police chief, but he's been on the force for 10 years, and he said in his 10 years, he's not had an issue there with traffic. So, I'm telling you what No, he doesn't. I don't know where he lives. I'm just telling you what he said.
We're concerned about emergency
telling you
vehicles
what he
being able
said.
to get through with the increased, they're enlarging the park, so there's gonna be more traffic.
We have disabled children on that street. We need emergency vehicles there.
So, right now, there is no traffic issue as
Not
of
today,
right
no.
now. But you're talking about in the future.
Well, August 31st is coming right up, and the
Well,
park will be
perhaps
open.
at that time, we could address maybe having a traffic engineer do a study.
So in the interim, if someone has a seizure and you can't get an ambulance down there because you waited to act or to see what happened, what are you gonna do to that?
Well, if we're gonna take some input, just have them come up, identify themselves, please.
Yeah. If
it's
you're
gonna-
We
done,
do
if you
have,
could just.
we do have a traffic problem on that street. Took a friend of mine 45 minutes to get from Rochester Road to my driveway while the park was open in the last 3 months when they came to see me. Whenever the park is open, you cannot get to Pine Street. You can't get out of your driveway. Sometimes you go to your neighbor's house, and if you've taken your car, it stays there overnight, because you can't get out and get your car home.
So it's happening today when the park is open?
Yes, when the park is open, yes.
That's what I was trying to.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what I was
Excuse me.
trying to get at. I
Yes.
didn't mean.
No,
like
this
when-
has
And
gone
the
on
third-
for years, or is it just recently that this is happening?
It's typically, it was always at the Festival of the Lights, always. You would learn to come in the back way, but now we have new technology and people are coming in the back way from GPS and Navigon and whatever, MapQuest. They send them another way if there's traffic. So we don't even have a safe route to get in. Which is another thing I wanted to talk about. We need an emergency route to get out.
Okay. All right, anything else? I mean, all we can do is listen to what
I
you have to
understand.
say, and then we'll
Yeah.
take these things into
Well, I
consideration.
did want to talk a little bit more about, the removal of trees and the water situation, the drainage, conservation. This is supposedly a minor modification, but this has typically been an area that's full of wildlife, all kinds of wildlife. And it is having an effect on the wildlife now, as we speak. I put a sign out there, the box turtle, which is native to our area, which is in our area. Nobody's doing anything about it.
Have you brought this to the attention of the conservation agent?
This is the very first thing I've ever done, this petition, to try and get something done, because this is getting bigger and bigger and overwhelming us.
But we had, for these plans that were before us tonight, we had already gone through this with everybody. We had this had already gone
I was
through.
not privy to any of the meetings last spring, I don't know how. I just noticed that in the summer, when they started moving things around, and the
Well, we
the
did. There
terrain
were-
started changing, I noticed something big was going on.
Yeah,
So
we-
I
we-
am late to get on the train, I
Yeah,
admit that.
Yeah.
No pun
Would it be
intended.
possible
No pun
that-
intended.
Would it be possible that when Mr. Hallinan came out, that it had been dried up and it had been hot maybe for 5 or 6 days, and he didn't see it or wasn't aware of it?
Well,
He came out last spring and saw it in full bloom, at which time he put a catch basin on my side of the road, at which point you could see that the water was still coming right across the road, at which point he got them to put catch basins on their end. But they have no outlet. Those catch basins on that side have no outlet. It's not being drained anywhere.
Well, please, just let this lady speak, and then you can come up and give us your name and address, and we'll try to do this orderly. But go ahead. All we can do is take these concerns, we can go back and we can talk to the
Well,
department
these are my
heads.
concerns. The
Okay.
traffic is a big concern. The third lane will be sadly insufficient. It will not help. We need an emergency route. We need a plan that we can have vehicles coming in and out.
Great. Thank you.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman, maybe I didn't ask the police chief the right way, and I think I now understand what you're talking about, and I will add, and I did talk to the deputy fire chief, and he has no public safety concerns about peak times today. So I'll ask again in writing, and I will ask again Mr. Hallinan about the drainage, but he was very clear to me that he does not see it as an issue.
Well,
And I don't know where to go with that.
that's a miscommunication maybe between him and I. He did come out and do,
He knows your situation
yes, he
very well.
does. Yeah, he does. And he did see, and he has been, several people have been witness to the flood that happens from Edaville's property across Pine Street, running down my driveway, eroding it. I'm not making it up. It's not supposed.
Not doubting it.
So I would like it taken care of,
You
and
gotta understand, these guys rely on their department
Right.
heads who have the expertise and the
to 'em.
responsibility for
Mhm.
it.
yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman. Can we respond?
Mr. Chair,
Comments being made
through,
is fact.
through you, Mr. Deli, I'd prefer if you wait, we got all the comments, other than going back and forth, back and forth. Obviously, this is just for information
But the
for us.
state- and through you, Mr. Chair, the statements being made that are grossly inaccurate that need to be corrected.
My concern is that we're trying to address a citizen's petition, excuse me. And I'd like to hear the information from the citizens, and then we'll hear obviously from you, because it seems like they're targeting Edaville Railroad, and obviously we want to hear your input too. I know that from driving by there, being down to the site, going through the site, there's a lot of construction going on now, but the petition's very clear of what some of their concerns are. It's only information. There's nothing really in front of us right now.
I understand that, but just as one example, just to give you an example. She's saying as a matter of fact.
You realize that if this gets confrontational, then we're gonna stop.
I would really like it,
To finish,
please,
let's-
I would really like it
Alright.
if you could take some notes, and if maybe you could discuss this, after everybody has their, because then
Is
you'll
everybody
have everybody's
disagreeing with
opinion.
everybody?
Whoever
I don't
wants
know,
to
I don't
speak.
know.
Are we just gonna listen to the petitioners, or are we gonna listen to the people who are also affected by Edaville?
Well, we
There's a
can,
lot of
we
people
can,
affected by Edaville,
we
Mr.
can,
Chairman.
we can do that too,
There's
but,
a lot of people affected by
but
Edaville.
if you could wait till,
Well, as long as
so we
everybody
could
gets
do
a
it that
chance
way.
to speak, I'll stay at midnight, I don't care.
Okay, okay. Thank you. All right, go ahead, please, if you come up and.
Board, I'm Mike Tuffy. I reside at 1 Pine Street in Carver. I too obviously have concerns with the traffic. I have a son, he's 2 years old. He has ARS, he's had croup. I've had to take him to the hospital several times in emergency situations. So obviously being able to get out of my driveway is a major concern. The thing with the drainage, I mean, the water table is like really high down there. The bogs fill up, they flow over the roads. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if some engineer signed off on it or not, I'm not sure, but if there's no outlet for the water to go, especially during the spring or the fall or the winter, then the water has nowhere to go. The water is gonna spill over the road. I don't know what effect it has on people's personal properties or anything like that. I'm concerned with the influx of people. I mean, someone doesn't put this much money into a piece of property without the thought of being able to gain more money from it. So I guess the fact that he's putting the money in means that he's expecting more people to go there, more revenue. And I don't know if all of the situations have been addressed by you guys on the board. I mean, just simple things like litter, you know what I mean? You walk through Edaville parking lot, there's not a trash receptacle in the parking lot. So, I mean, it all ends up in my yard. So, I mean, that's a concern to me. The age group, I don't know, inside the fence of what he owns, I mean, there's only so much you can do, but if he's going to a different age group and it's going to get to a point where, there's going to be teenagers there and stuff like that, there's obviously concerns for all of the residents, so.
Excuse me, when you say teenagers, in reference to employees or people
No, I'm
coming into
talking
the
just
park?
the people inside the park and the crowd, the visitors to the crowd and stuff like that. I mean, the employees should be supervised by their supervisors, and they have things like that. But the people inside the park, if the crowd starts to get younger and more like a middle-aged crowd, it's going to be a concern to the residents of the neighborhood, obviously. can't think of anything else I really wanted to say, but the third lane, there's gonna be a lane going into Edaville? And I wasn't privy to any of these prior meetings. I don't know if Carver as a whole needs to do a better job of making sure that residents know about these things. I don't know where they're posted or.
It wasn't a public hearing, but we were told that
I mean, but
communication.
it seems like he's taking on a major undertaking over there. I mean, you have noise concerns, you have, like I said, waste concerns. There's obviously a flood issue over there. There's emergency vehicle, being able to get our children and our loved ones out of our houses if there's a traffic concern. I mean, those are things that there should be a public hearing on things like this. Because this is going to be a giant influx of people. I mean, he's done his market research. He knows what he's getting into. You know what I mean? He's not dumping all this money in there to not get an influx of people going in there. So it's going to change the whole dynamic of the whole area, and environmental concerns, like someone already brought up. I mean, those are things that need to be addressed. I know when you build a house, and if you want to take a part of a wetlands, and you have to put it back, and there's a lot of wetlands over there. And I mean, I know you guys are probably doing that, but just more info to the residents would be, especially the immediate neighbors, would be good. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Ken Buffer, 34 Pine Street. I had a couple questions. I saw something with like a water park and stuff. Is that all gonna be proposed later? Or,
Well,
I don't know, is that something totally different?
That's something that may happen in the future, but it's not
Okay,
coming.
and we'll be all informed for another meeting?
We'll deal
or-
with that when it comes before the board, yeah.
Okay. Another question I had was, last year, we all went through the walkthrough, I think everybody that was here. And I spoke to Brenda out at the walkthrough, and I hated to see all those trees coming down. I live at 34 on the corner. And I said, you can do what you want over there, it's your property, nobody can't say you can't. I said, can you please leave 15 feet of your trees over here? It would just, because there was 3 rows of beautiful pines, and that would keep the cars back a little bit also, and kind of buffer it out. I came home, and they were all whacked down, gone. And at the walkthrough, it was like, okay, is all the neighbors happy with, everybody that was there, is everybody happy with what we're gonna do? Keep these trees? Yeah, that's all I asked for. Nobody's been down there to follow through with what happened. Another one of my questions is, you had spoke about an entrance off Pine Street. Where is that entrance gonna be?
Is
location for that?
This is something that's
No,
proposed?
it was also spoke about then too, but nobody knew where it was gonna be. No, we spoke about it when we were down there also. I'm just afraid I'm gonna come home and the trees are gonna be whacked down, the town trees. The only reason why they didn't come out anymore was because the town. I knew there was gonna be some trees there, And now my next question is, now, Mr. Piscola, you say that you're gonna have trees up on the berm, which will look nice. Are you gonna have any trees, are you planting any trees like on the other side of the parking lot towards Pine Street?
On the street.
On the street side?
Okay, well,
So I'm not looking at cars parking 75 feet from my front door. That's
Okay,
all
well,
I'm asking,
we'll ask him to answer these questions
All right.
after
After the
everybody.
fact.
All right, so, but as far as everything else going on in the park, I don't know if it's rumors or whatever it is, but that's all gonna be presented at a later time, or? Because I'm just afraid the work's gonna be done, and then we're gonna come in and it's gonna be, because that's where a lot of issues are for myself. I can't speak for my neighbors, but a lot of issues are gonna be at that point, because, I mean, Mr. Perscoli says that there's a lot of people affected by Edaville. There's only a selected few that are paying a mortgage in front of Edaville. Everybody else can go home from there. okay? I bought my house about 5 years ago, beautiful home, okay? And I said, geez, why hasn't this house sold? Nobody liked the train in front of it. I love the train in front of it because I'm from Carver. I liked it. It was seasonal, quiet in the summer. I think there's going to be issues come later on, and I'd like to make sure that we all get informed of when that meeting is in plenty of time. That's all I have. Thank you.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is David Burns. I reside at 36 Pine Street. I've been having my door knocked on by my neighbors, telling me about things happening at Edaville. I received a letter from Edaville telling me none of it's true. I was here last year. I did the walkthrough with the town. We agreed upon a 15-foot barrier of trees from the town property line. Per Mr. Buffton, I'm in full agreement. Those trees are gone. The town trees are gone. There is no buffer zone. The parking lot has extended at least twice the distance that it was supposed to be. You want to talk about effect of the water? You took all the loam out and you loaded it with gravel. Water runs right through gravel. Fortunately for me, I am on a hill. Everyone around me, not so lucky. I think the town seriously needs to get out there and back up the original agreement of what was to be done, because it's not being followed. As for the traffic plan, there never has been one. It has been a horror show. I can't get in and out of my own driveway. It is faster for me to walk to Dave's Market to get milk and walk back than it is to take my car. Because Edaville has not employed anyone who seems to know how to direct traffic. They've had children out there that didn't even have driver's licenses. And they can argue that point, but my son is friends with them. They're not old enough. They don't have licenses. You need a cop at the corner of Rochester and Pine to direct the traffic that's been backing up down 58, backing up down Rochester, plus you have traffic coming in the backside of Pine Street. Now there's no emergency route. There's no route for homeowners to get in and out of our own homes. They routed traffic last year straight down the street. Instead of filling the parking lot first, they filled the back parking lot. Well, that was great, because now traffic wasn't moving at all, and I'm picking up everyone's trash. I had a couple drop a diaper right out the window in the center of the road in front of my house. This is unacceptable. And please don't say that it's just the patrons, because if Edaville had been doing it properly, these people wouldn't have been sitting in traffic in front of my house. I'm at 36 Pine. I am 7 houses past the entrance of their parking lot. Absolutely ridiculous. They have no emergency entrance, and I want a guarantee from Edaville, and I want it backed up by the town and the police department on this traffic plan. No one under 18 without a driver's license parks any vehicles in that lot. I want a police officer out there directing the traffic to guarantee if there is an emergency, someone on Pine Street can get help, or someone in the park can get help. You don't even have an emergency entrance into the park. That's absurd. Also, they were parking cars on town property within 2 feet of the street. I proposed no vehicle parked within 12 feet of the street, off of town property, onto Edaville property. What was happening is people are getting their strollers out of the back of their minivans. They're standing in the center of the road. They are now in danger. And so is any resident trying to swerve around them. That is unacceptable. And if they didn't have children parking the cars, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe if we had a safety officer out there, it wouldn't have happened. And we expect the town to protect not only the patrons, but the people who live on Pine Street. And if there's cars parked there, then Edaville should pay the fine. $25 per car right down the line, any car that's within 12 feet of the street. Maybe then people will stop doing it. and you'll protect the people in the park. What's been going on is a travesty, and we expect the town to back us up and get 100% disclosure from Edaville as to what is actually going to happen. We want it all in writing per the town, because what they said is not what has been done. I'm looking at a dirt parking lot. My house has been shaking apart for months with heavy equipment trucks dragging dirt in and out from 6 in the morning till 10 at night. Thankfully, they finally listened and stopped doing it till 10 at night. This has been absolutely ridiculous, and I expect the town to take some action and protect us. I can't tell you how much I've lost my home. I can't sell my home. Why? Who would want it now? I look at a dirt parking lot, and you can't even pull in and out of my driveway. Thank you. I appreciate all the help. Well, I want you to stay in business. I want to help you. I want you to thrive. But I also want you to protect my family and the families that enter in and out of Edaville, because you're not doing that. Right now, you're all about the dollar and what you want, not appreciated by the neighbors. And we'll do whatever it takes to make this stop and conform to what was originally agreed upon. Has any one of the board members walked what is Edaville now?
Yes.
Per our agreement from last year and seen the difference?
I was down there 2 weeks ago.
So you know that they did not comply.
I didn't have the plans with me. So I haven't taken the plan and walked the site. I've walked the site, though. I haven't done the plans and the site.
The
And
parking
for full
lot,
disclosure, I was invited by the owner of the property.
how about the people who live there? We haven't had any disclosure. A building went up. I wasn't notified. I'm in a butter. How is this happening?
Well, was it one of the buildings that we already approved with this plan? Yes. Yeah, that's,
You mean the very large storage building that could house tractor trailers that's up on the property? That was approved?
Is that
And
the
no
one that's
notice
at
to
the end of
abutters?
Pine
I
Street?
don't know, we can make note of that, and we'll take a look at it.
Is that the one that's at the end of Pine Street?
Yes, right in front of the bogs?
I have not been out there, but I will make it a point to get the plans and go out there.
Abutters were never notified. We weren't notified the other buildings were coming down. We weren't notified they were being moved. This is, I realize, that's all not in the traffic plan or the drainage. So I'll get back to that. The turning lane, will it be a separate turning lane with a curb so that people aren't just driving over it? We need to know what this traffic lane is gonna be, how it's gonna be directed, whose house is gonna be affected by it. We need to know where the emergency lanes are gonna be. Be honest with you, I think if Edaville is gonna be this busy as they were last year, they should have an ambulance on site. Why? Because one will never get there in time. It's not fair to the customers, it's not fair to the residents. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Patty Maloney. I reside at 20 Pine Street, directly across from Edaville parking lot. I am a former employee of Edaville, and I do find Edaville to be very family-friendly, and they have always helped us out when we've had issues. But this time, for some reason, we have not been notified of anything going on. I have an 18-year-old daughter who has cerebral palsy. She's legally blind, and she has a seizure disorder. We need to make sure, not just for her sake, but for everybody's sake at Pine Street and surrounding areas, that there is a way for emergency vehicles to get there. Now, when King Richard's Fair is open, there is always security. Why is there not security for Edaville Railroad? I know that there's drinking involved over at King Richard's Fair, but still, with that amount of people, there should be some type of security involved. And I would like that in place before they open on August 31st, because you're talking about having a travel plan or a traffic plan looked at after the fact. And something needs to be put in place before that happens. We're not demanding a lot. We're just demanding that you respect our property, the value of our property, and our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments to make?
Peter Botem's at 26 Pine Street. As far as drainage is concerned, there is a drainage issue, and it doesn't perk. Pretty much inadequate. I think everybody knows it. You've seen it. It runs right across from the parking lot. It funnels down Jean's driveway about 12 feet wide, a foot deep. And the septic pits that were put in are inadequate. You told us that you would contain your water. I've been on a lot of projects in town. We contained water. There's a drainage easement. This needs to be brought forth. Traffic is gonna be an issue. May not be right now because they're closed, but it will be an issue. And, what else was I gonna reiterate on? The third lane, I don't know what that will do. It's already kind of a third lane into the parking lot when they funnel them in. That's about all I can think of right now. The sign, I'm sure everything will look nice when it's done. That's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, is there anybody that would like to make any additional comments before I let,
Talking about from the abutters or from citizens?
anybody?
Petitioners,
would like-
I think you want first,
Huh?
The
Yep.
petitioners.
Petition, okay, the petitioners, yep. Oh, we have more after the petitioners? We have other people that would like to speak?
Hopefully I'll be it. Mike Shaw, I'm a Cranberry Road resident. Obviously, I live in town, and I have worked at Edaville for about 12 years. I understand the neighbors' concerns, and can someone just reiterate how many petitioners there were on that petition? How many signed?
I think it was 31.
And how many are in the room? So about half.
Well, there's people out in the hallway too, but yeah,
A lot of those are Edaville employees. I think Edaville is very willing to work with the neighbors on these issues. If some of the neighbors come forward and talk to John and talk to Brenda, they are some of the nicest people that I have met. They're like family to me. And I'm sure they're willing to address traffic issues, emergency vehicle issues, trash issues. And some of those issues that were brought up earlier are, some of them are not true, such as trash. Every day we clean the parking lot. We have trash barrels out there. We do make an effort. We have parking staff. Some of them may not be licensed. Do they have to be? I don't know. That's a legal issue. Now, on somebody supervising them, there is somebody out there supervising the people that are working in the parking lot. Sometimes it is an issue for us with the traffic backing up. I can remember back when I was very little, when they used to do the Cranberry Festival before John owned Edaville. Traffic backed up to 495. Can that be an issue again? Possibly. But Edaville is, I know, working on the issues with traffic. And just to understand that right turn only is for traffic pulling into the parking lot. The existing lane is for traffic to pass, such as emergency vehicles. And also, if there is an emergency within the area, emergency vehicles have lights and sirens. Cars pull over for them. Certainly there might be a delay on that, but if you look at King Richard's Fair, traffic backs up there as well. The emergency vehicles have no problem going through there. Also, issues with other things such as the drainage. I know that's been a concern for a while. I've never gone by and actually seen it. I don't know if anybody here has. If there's an issue there, it looks like John has tried to resolve it to the best of the ability. I'm sure Mr. Hallinan has as well. It's a problem, I'm sure, that's been there for years, as well as Edaville's been there for a long time, and those houses may not have been there for a long time. So how do we know those issues weren't there before? So if some of the neighbors have some concerns, please go and talk to John, go and talk to Brenda. They're understanding people. I'm sure they'll work with you. You might disagree with me, but if there is miscommunication or communication not going on between the abutters and John, which I don't believe there has. I think every time something's happened at Edaville, they've sent the abutters notifications. They've sent them tickets to come in. They've been very kind to them. And I understand your tensions, but let us all work together with this and take care of the situation. There are a lot of people in this room that work at Edaville and live in town. It's a great revenue source, and I hope it can continue and for the better. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
We should hear from John, if this isn't an abutter.
Yeah.
The direct abutter or petitioner. Then let's hear from John.
Excuse me. Heather Sansine, I live at 4 Cherry Hill Drive, a little cul-de-sac right across from Edaville's entrance. And I've had issues with the traffic. I've sat on Route 58 for 45 minutes or more when they're having 14-year-olds or direct traffic. And when I finally got home, I called and I spoke to somebody over there about the traffic issues, and it was not addressed. And this happened night after night during Christmas time every single year. I can't get to my cul-de-sac without going down Pine Street. No matter which way I go, I can't get in, I can't get out. I've had people park on my street in front of my house. I have children that are riding their bikes that I'm afraid they're gonna get run over. This is an issue. A second lane's not gonna do anything. And I'm sorry, I am all for the working man, I am all for jobs. But you have to realize we have real concerns. We have a real issue with the traffic, with the drainage, with our property values going down, with the noise, with the trash. And yes, there's trash. I'm sorry, I live there, I see it. We all see it, okay? They should have a traffic cop. They've got to do something about the traffic. There's backups all the way, and this is a rural area. I built my house when Edaville was closed. Before you came in and bought it, it was not there. It was an empty place. And like 3 weeks later, after I signed on, Edaville opens. All the trains are coming back. And it was fine until the traffic came. I have no problem with Edaville. I have no problem with revenue, but you have to remember you have residents in a rural area. This is not Boston. This is not a main road. This is a little tiny street. And if you work there, great. Live in my house. Live on Pine Street. Live on Cherry Hill. And then tell me what you think about the traffic and the trash, because it's there. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional person that's a direct abutter that would like to have this go over to John so we can address these issues, and then we can go on to other people that are here that might like to say something, but are there any more direct abutters that would like to say anything? Right. Oh, wait a minute, one more person, please, I'm sorry.
Melissa Potenza, 26 Pine Street. I feel the same way as some neighbors on certain issues, but on others, again, I personally have never had a problem with Edaville until recently with the things that have been going on. I just feel like if we had a little more knowledge and a disclosure between the neighbors, that some of these issues may not be here tonight in front of everybody for all of this. I agree with the economic growth of it. I think it's great. I have a daughter who would love to work over there, wants to work over there. But we feel like we are not getting the information that we need. I've heard that there's going to be a roller coaster out my front window. That's going to affect my property value. There is a small water problem. It does affect Jean's driveway. If we could maybe open up some communication, I think that a lot of these issues could be addressed without causing all night to do this. Nobody, I think all of our neighbors, I've never had a problem with Edaville. There are nights it is busy. Please just do something to consider us and keep us informed and be happy, good neighbors all together, if that could possibly work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. John?
I think everybody's set now. If John would like to address some of these concerns. Well, first, I think it's important to look at the historical situation here. Edaville's been there since 1946. And other than a handful of years because of a ownership dispute between the two owners, the Eldridge brothers, Edaville was closed. So Edaville's been there a long time. Actually predates Disney in Anaheim, if you can believe it. We actually have a picture of Walt Disney walking around Edaville with Ellis Atwood in 1949. So Edaville's been there a long time. You know, when Edaville was contemplated to be closed and turned into a subdivision, there was a big upset about that. We can't lose Edaville. It's the charm of the town. It's the character. People have to understand that with jobs, with economic development, with tax revenue, there are some impacts. But there's 16,000 people, is that right, in town? How many other? 11,000. Okay, 10,000, whatever. That's a lot of people, and there's an awful lot of people that enjoy Edaville. There's been comments made that Edaville's going to attract teenagers and undesirables, or whatever that comment really means. Edaville is a preschool attraction, always was and always will be. It's attracted for families. Teenagers come, but they come for Christmas lights with their fathers and grandmothers, and they have for generations, since the 40s. It's the most wholesome entertainment one could ask for. It's exactly what the state of Massachusetts and the Governor's Council on Tourism is looking for. It's exactly what this town needs. We're the largest employer in the town. We're probably the largest taxpayer. I have the most expensive taxes on my house of anybody. So I think we need to look at the 10,000 when we're framing the discussion. Also, you know, I don't know if you want me to get into every last point at this point in time, but there has been a tradition, and Mr. Mackey, you did make a statement that, you know, that the letter, you don't respect the letter. We went forward, made investment, and relied on a zoning opinion from the zoning officer. And for the last, since the 70s, when George Bartholomew was there, and those of you may remember that name, he was there from 1970 to 1991. Everything inside the fence was always Edaville. Edaville was able to add rides, delete rides, add attractions, delete attractions, and do all that. That's what's always been there. It is zoned, I don't know if people realize this, it is zoned tourism, commercial, as well as you can do residential. And there's 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, and the only zoning in this entire state that says tourist railroads is the one in Carver. So it couldn't be any more true to the zoning than what it is. And that's the reason when that zoning was done, and the zoning opinion of all the building inspectors, right up through Mike Mendoza, have said that once you get into the park can essentially move things around, add attractions, add different displays, sell balloons, whatever they want to do. Okay, that's the way the place has been run, and that's the way we're going to continue to run it. We can have that discussion another day, but I take a different position than you do on that, and I have quite a bit of documentation on that. We can deal with that at another time. As far as, so I don't want these people to believe that there's just there's a situation there that needs to be addressed. And that may require a third party addressing it. There's a tremendous investment being done in Edaville. This town should be thrilled that somebody's willing to put their capital into this property and to invest into these people, these wonderful people that live in this town, and the people that come here. This is, for many people, this is their first job, and for many people, it's their last job. There's going to be 300 jobs, full and part-time. There's already over 100. That's what should be being discussed here, is what is this doing for the greater good of Carver? There isn't a project in the world, including solar panel projects that you're very familiar with, that don't have impacts. I think you'd all agree with that. Every project has an impact. You have an impact driving to work with your car and the carbon dioxide that comes out of it. Everything has an impact. But you have to weigh what it is. You know, every town says, we want jobs, we want economic development, we want. Well, you got it. Now, there were some specific points made, and I do apologize for interrupting as we were going along. I thought we were going to address them point by point, but I took your advice, and I did the notes, so please accept that. As far as Jean Taylor, this catch basin that she refers to, the catch basin was put in by Mrs. Taylor's husband, or ex-husband, many, many years ago. It was put in on town land without the permission of the town. It was put in improperly, and we do not contribute to the water on her land. The fact of the matter is that our land is 100% groundwater recharge. Everything that falls in Edaville's property stays on Edaville's property and is being sucked in by the ground. It is so incredibly dry and permeable that everything is recharged. It's less than a 2-minute perk on everything there. There's actually, having done some earthwork over there, there's a tremendous amount of sewer gravel, which is the best gravel there is, right there, right in front of that house. But we didn't say no. What we did say is we'll talk to the town, and Brenda approached Bill Hallion and explained to Jean that when Bill goes out there, if Bill says it's an Edaville problem, we agreed carte blanche to fix it. On the other hand, if it's not an Edaville problem, then leave us alone. Bill went out and said it's not an Edaville problem. And the taxpayers went out to fix an individual problem on a catch basin that was put in illegally, without permission, on the town's property. And Bill Hallion, because he's a great guy and wants to do the right thing for the citizens, and you got to respect that, went and fixed that catch basin and lowered it and put the proper dimension on it and pitch so it could work as best as possible. And that's what took place. And that's all documented. There's not yes or my story or her story. That's the truth. And that's it. And Bill Hallion, I wish he was here, could say that. She also mentioned that, you know, all these things are happening with nobody knowing anything. The fact of the matter is when we did the walk-arounds with all you folks, Brenda and I had open house at Edaville with the master plan, which has not changed in any substantial way. The parking lot footprint hasn't changed. The berms, the rides that were on the plan are still on the plan. Everything is the same. I went forward on this, made representations and made investments based on the fact that everybody was happy with everything. We opened our doors for 2 weeks for anybody that wanted to come by and visit. Now, I understand there's impacts during construction. We're getting near the end of it. The heaviest site work is done. There's a little bit of a surplus material there that has to be used for shim and other areas. And the berm has to be loomed, and we have special, as you folks like, we use reprocessed asphalt known as RAP, which will be put over the compact gravel that's there now. So the entire parking lot will be 100% recharge, which wasn't the case before. 75% of the parking lot was paved with no catch basins. When Bill Hallion came out and we talked about things, I went to him after I had Arthur Borden's plan showing the sidewalk that I agreed to do. That was an inclusion when we filed for a subdivision. I don't know how many were here then, but I know Will was. Will's been here forever. But we put a subdivision, we applied for a subdivision, and we were approved for a subdivision. And part of that mitigation for that subdivision was to put in a sidewalk with trees and lights and aesthetically pleasing sidewalk. The first thing I said to Jack when I came in and relaunched Edaville and decided to expand Edaville and not sell Edaville, because nobody I talked to who wanted Edaville had the passion, the wherewithal, and the actual drive and resources that place requires to build a critical mass of business so they could stay open and pay its bills and employ people. Well, anyway, when that happened, I said to Jack and the board, I'll build the sidewalk with the Edaville program, just like we said we would do with the subdivision. In fact, we went out and we bought 20 lights. They're Victorian lights, and they alternate with trees. So you have a tree, a light, a tree, a light, and the trees are all the white Bradford pears, if you're familiar with those, that go all up and down the street. There is curbing. But when Bill came out, I wanted to make sure that he was happy with the way it was and the way we were going to position the curb and the way we were going to saw cut the road to expand the footprint for the berm and everything else. I mean, the Cape Cod berm that was going to be put there to correct, to direct drainage coming in and out. He said, John, would you consider, I know it's not on the plan and I know it's not required, but would you consider putting some additional catch basins in the event the parking lot freezes, you'd have some place for the water to go. And I said, well, tell me what you'd like to see. He says, what I'd like to see is, I can't remember, it was 5 or 6 leaching catch basins connected by perforated direct drainage pipe, the heavy black corrugated pipe, in a bed of stone and fabric. And we did that. I didn't even question it. I just did it. And I went and I told Jack, I said, I met with Bill Hallion. He wanted to add these things. Do you have a problem with it? He says, no, go do what Bill wants to do. And I said, sure. And that's what I did. I didn't even squawk about it. I just went and did it because it's the right thing to do. And that's what we did. This has been an open door policy. We were open, as I said, we invited the neighbors in. Brenda, I don't think there's a person in this room, including the abutters, that could say that Brenda Johnson doesn't answer her phone and respond to the neighbors in a positive way. She goes overboard. I'd like to see somebody stand up and say that Brenda Johnson doesn't answer her phone and doesn't respond. We do. Brenda's done a tremendous job. She's worked there since 1974. I mean, think about that. And I think we all have that opinion. So the reality of it is we are responsible neighbors. And I do want to work with the neighbors. And if the neighbors want to come over and discuss things in a concrete, honest, and open, fair way, and not talk about catch basins that were put in by, and all this, and talk about solutions, I'm happy to talk about it. And as far as access to Edaville, there are several accesses. There are accesses through our bogs. There are accesses on both ends of the Pine Street area there. And there's plenty of access to Edaville. Edaville has never had an issue where an emergency vehicle couldn't get in there. So going forward, to answer a few other questions, the idea behind Edaville is right now we're open only 60 to 75 days a year. That's because it's Christmas primarily, and then the day out with Thomas a couple of times a year for some special events. What we're doing now, Edaville can't survive on that. Edaville has to be open like every other attraction in New England from spring to winter or to fall. But the good news about that is that the guests visiting will be spread over a much greater period of time, which means less density on a day-to-day basis. So in other words, instead of having everybody jammed into one little framework of a time frame, it's spread out over a much greater period of time, which means the traffic, even though more people will visit Edaville, it's spread out and dispersed over a greater period of time. And I think that's very important to keep in mind. Unlike King Richard's Fair, which the people have to pack into a 6-week or 5-week or whatever it is thing, and that traffic's backed up past my house, well past my house. It is what it is. They have police out there. It is what it is. So I turn left when I leave my driveway on South Main Street. I don't turn right. It only happens a few times. I'm not going to come in here and say King Richard's Fair is this, do something about it. Everybody knows King Richard's Fair. Matter of fact, I don't know if you people all know this. King Richard's Fair used to be right where these houses are built. Right across the street from Edaville. That's where King Richard's Fair was before it was on Route 58. But George Bartholomew ran into financial problems and sold those subdivision lots that these people built homes, or somebody prior to them, or builders or whoever. And that's how it happened. That was all the parking lots for Edaville years ago, back in the 70s or 80s. I don't know when King Richard's Fair moved. I think it was in the 80s to the current location. There's 3 to 4 barrels in the parking lot at all times, and the parking lot is picked up on a daily basis. Now, I'm not going to say for a moment that people don't throw diapers out the window and beer cans and everything else. I live on Route 58. I have to go out every morning with a dumpster and pick up the stuff that people throw, McDonald's and all the other stuff that's thrown on my front lawn. I don't come in here and say to you, hey, put a policeman out there and collect all this, okay? The fact is, that's what happens. People are disrespectful of other people's property and throw stuff on the ground. That isn't a fault of Edaville's. I don't know who does it on 58. But the fact is, we use best efforts. We go out every day, we clean the stuff up, and there's 4 barrels. We're not, as I mentioned earlier, we're not going to an age group. Our target audience, the prime audience for Edaville is 0 to 14, and their parents and grandparents, and keeping those traditions. It's a complete, my whole focus is a retro children's park. Let Six Flags and Canopy Lake deal with the teenagers. Now, as I mentioned, there's a sidewalk complete with trees. Once you pass the sidewalk and the trees and the lights that will run along the Pine Street, you're going to come into a parking lot that is crushed asphalt, compacted, with catch basins. And then when you come up to the berm, what you're going to see is, you're going to see a long berm there. It's approximately 6 feet high and 20 feet wide at the bottom. And there will be approximately 200 6 to 8 foot evergreen trees, the entire length of that berm on the top. Those trees cost $130 a pop. That's how many trees are going in there. On the sides of the berm, on the slopes of the berm, that's going to be hydroseeded wildflowers. So you're going to use indigenous wildflowers there that will come in. So you'll have the flowers and then the trees along the top. So you have the trees along the street, you have the trees. How can anybody in their right mind say that isn't more attractive than what they've been looking at? 2 rusted out cabooses, falling down buildings, signs that are all broken, a parking lot that's half paved and broken, berms that are abandoned, no drainage. I mean, we're putting a ton of money in here to make this aesthetically pleasing and environmentally pleasing. No one works on the construction. First of all, there was one period of time last year I was getting crushed asphalt off of the 495 when they mill the roads at night and they load the asphalt, and I was buying it from Aggregate Industries, and they came and they only could deliver it at night. That was the only time, and we shut them off once we got complaints. That was last year. This year, I'm there every morning. I'm the first person there. I'm there at 6:45. Nothing happens before 7 o'clock. We grease our machines. We do quiet work. At 7 o'clock, we fire up the machines, and we start to work. And we work till approximately 5 o'clock. Most people leave at 3:30. And I'm there every day. So this is not hearsay. I'm there. I'm running that job. Let's see. As far as the trees that were cut were all cut on Edaville's property. Included in that approval, if you remember, there was going to be an additional entrance over there, but I found a way to do it up the original way through the berm, which now will not affect any trees along. So I'm actually going to come back and talk about that. Instead of punching in the access that you wanted me to on Pine Street, I have an access where it currently exists, and found a way to route that in, and it worked out much better because with the track being pulled back from the ponds and everything else, it really worked out nicely. And then there was one thin spot where there was missing some trees, and we had agreed to put those trees in, and we intend to do that. That's going to go all in at the landscaping phase. But you have to understand, the loom is stripped, the loom is piled, the loom is screened, the loom is, I mean, there's a series of events how this works. It's a construction site, and I'm in a tight time frame to get the heaviest site work done, and I'm very close to finishing. I think people should reserve final comment to let me get the landscaping in and let me get this done, and I think that's the time to sit down and really look at it, to be candid with you. So we talked about the emergency access road. And by the way, you only need to be 16 and a half to have a driver's license, just for the record, not 18. Although I don't want my son to get one until he's 18, to be honest. He's here. He's the redhead behind me there. On busy nights during Christmas when we have a lot of things, Brenda uses best efforts, and many times we do hire police details. It depends on the volume and so forth. And listen, if it's busy, that's good for everybody. And, you know, I have no problem hiring police details when it's appropriate. And I think that's an ongoing situation, and we deal with the chief on that, and I think that should be left in the chief's hands, just like the ambulances and the fire thing should be left in the fire chief's hands and the police chief's hands. We work with those people on a day-to-day basis. And if there is some obvious problem with it, then I think that, you know, the police could be called, and we will sit down and deal with it. You know what I mean? I mean, as far as, you know, that. Now, you know, I just want it totally clear that Edaville wants to be a good neighbor. When I embarked on reinvigorating Edaville, I want this to be a partnership with the town. I want the 300 jobs. I want you to get the tax revenue. I didn't walk in here looking for a TIF. Any other town would bend over backwards to have tourism for children. Bend over backwards. The town of Holliston wanted me to take everything from Edaville, move it up to 300 acres I own right next to where the casino is going to go in Milford, potentially. And move everything there. And I just think it's the fabric of this town, and the people love it. The agricultural, the envirotourism, the agricultural tourism. It's a great place. A lot of people are affected by it. And they mentioned about the people that live on Pine Street. Do you know that 2 people on Pine Street, one I don't know because he's just beginning, but there's another gentleman that lives on the corner of Pine Street, got laid off on a Friday and drove up to talk to me, cold, I didn't know him, and said, I'm an electrician, not electrician, HVAC guy, and I'm a carpenter. I got laid off with no notice. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need a job. I says, be here Monday. Lives right on Pine Street. He walks to work. That's the reality, you know, when you see people that, you know, get put out of a job and they have a mortgage to pay, and they walk 100 yards into our property and get a job, what do you say about that? I mean, those people live on Pine Street. They're not on that petition, but they live there. You know, the reality is we want to be good neighbors. I want to stress that. But you have to understand is Edaville was there since 1946. That can't be forgotten. And we need to work together. But the fact is, it's there, it's zoned that way, that's the way all our predecessors wanted it, and now you have somebody putting the money in, generating the jobs. It's time to work together and not get into any kind of confrontation. It's time to solve issues and work together, and that's what we're interested in doing. And the guidance that this board has given over the years has been very good. I appreciate your help tonight with the architecture. If we can make it better, we will. I think tonight, the prior thing we did with the arch is an example of that. I think it's very important that we do that. And I look forward to all your comments as we go forward. I'd love to walk the group through or individually at your conveniences. Call me. I'm here a lot now, so you can call me up. I walked Will a little bit because I was concerned that there was issues brewing, and I wanted to address them and nip them and address them right up front. So with that, maybe some of the other interested parties could have a moment to speak, and then I think that's a long night for all of us.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Go ahead. John, could I wait for a minute?
You spoke about the bog access. Could you explain that to me?
That's right.
Please.
I own, when I sold a portion of the land to A.D. Makepeace, A.D. Makepeace and I have mutual easements over 100% of each other's property. So Bog Roads, I have full access to Bog Roads 724. So there are several ways of coming in there if you had to in the event that that some truck tipped over and blocked all of Pine Street, which is the most likely reason that something would block Pine Street. You'd be a situation like that, and that does happen. Of course, now you have the other way coming in. I don't know where Pine Street ends up on Meadow on the back there. I'm not 100% sure of all the names of the roads. But there's bog roads that are accessed, and we are going to have, if you know Edaville right now, you know how it comes up, the road comes up from the back, not the front road where it turns but the way back, almost to Meadow Street. That access is going to be maintained, and Makepeace is going to be using that access. They've put a new access into their bog roads there. But we also have an access there, and that access was originally was going to be abandoned and not be used. It was going to be blocked. And now I've set it up with a gate. So now we'll have that, and everybody's comfortable with that because we've always had that. So that's a little deviation from the plan, but it eliminates cutting any trees on Pine Street beyond what's already been done. So that's a good, I thought good. And there's 2 accesses there. There's the direct access in front, and then there's rear accesses through several bog roads in back that, in the event there was some crisis.
A lot of them have been blocked off.
Well, but not where I am, not off of Meadow. And we could work with, Rosemary, we could work with the fire chief and so forth, and Knox box or whatever we want to do. I mean, typically, what most fire departments do, if there's a padlock, they just cut it. But we could identify those routes, is what I'm saying. And the other thing is Makepeace has been a great partner. They take unbelievable care of the property. And we have a road grader that I own. We grade the roads and so forth. So these aren't just, rickety, lousy little roads. They're good roads. We run, big trucks on them, the end dumps and everything, and they're solid. So.
I know they're solid. That's not
Yeah.
the issue. The issue is the police chief took great efforts working with AD Makepeace to block a lot of those entrances because there was a whole different set of issues.
Well, that's up your way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I listen. There is issues with. Rosemary. There is a tremendous amount of trespass. We've had a lot of thievery there. We've had a lot of people robbing us, steal, scrap. People have been prosecuted. We caught a few, but nothing happens. But the reality of it is I'm sure once we get Edaville to this critical mass built the way we want, we are going to have 7/24 security there, actual security. Professional security people there. Not only to protect the neighbors, but protect my investment and protect the patrons of the park. That's happening.
When do you expect the completion of the work that you're doing out there?
Well, the heavy site work, Bruce, the reason there appears to be so much work going on is because to relocate the track required some substantial earth moving, and reconfiguring of the land and the berms, and the track's has been rerouted inboard. So it's been taken away from the neighbors as in the sense of right in their front yard and moved back, and vegetated buffers have been in its place. So that work, the bulk of that work, there is some surplus material that will be left after August 31st that we're going to use for shimming. If you're familiar with some areas that need to be shimmed internally, and other than that, the bulk of that site work is going to be done in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. As far as the park's going to be a 2-year journey, as far inside, but no heavy work. It's adding rides and little vignettes and Dickens Village, and I bought, as an example, I bought all the Macy's window puppets, for the Christmas and all this type of thing. So, it's all stuff for children to enjoy and families to enjoy, things of that nature. But the bulk of the heavy work, Bruce, is over the next, let's call it the maximum the next month and a half.
Yeah, I'd just like to kind of walk it when you're done.
Sure.
With a plan in hand. I don't know if anybody on the board would like to do that. Schedule a time to
Anytime.
after completion, so we can just to address some of these people's concerns.
I'm full transparency. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Just let me know. Just give me a few days' notice. That's all I ask.
Schedule a meeting. Well, I guess
I wanna walk it
we'll have
before
to.
they start. I wanna walk it within the near future to see some of these issues.
Perhaps we can schedule something before we leave tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
John's availability and Brendan's.
All right, thank you.
Is that-
I don't see any of these issues, something that we can't work on and
Get them resolved.
and get them resolved. That's
Well, I think our commitment. We had like I said, 2 weeks. We opened up our doors and had the plans rolled out, and anybody had any questions, we explained them. That was it. So, you let me know on the dates, Jack. I mean,
Know right now.
Oh, you're gonna know now. Okay. I would prefer to do it after. I would prefer to do it like in the middle of September, only because I have some commitments, between now and then. Let's get through Labor Day, and then after that, I'm wide open. Whatever you want to do, and you could do it if we want to do it early morning. I'm available Saturday, Sunday. I don't care.
Be about 5. for these guys.
Okay, whatever works. You know, weekdays, weekends, you know, I mean, it's up to you.
Great, thank you. Thanks, John. All right, we'd, if anybody else would,
Paul's been waiting. It's hard for him to sit there.
Paul Johnson, 3 Laurie Lane. I'd like to say, you know, John covered a little bit of history. I'd like to cover a little too. My history with Edaville Railroad goes back to 1958. When I came down, my first memory of Carver, I lived in Easton at the time. My first memory of Carver was Edaville Railroad. And unfortunately for John, you know, it was noisy even back then, John, because I got chased all the way back to the car, and my mother had to try to keep up with me by a great big Indian chief that rattled the cage of a 4-year-old. A great experience, something that I want to share with my granddaughter when she comes up in the next year or two. The history of Edaville Railroad is really one with the history of Carver. It's something that we need to preserve. It's something we need to work on. We haven't always been user-friendly to Edaville. A little bit of history that I think John can't bring up, but some of the citizens here can, is we get into a tiff with him over the tailwater recovery pond that cost him a lot of money. And we were wrong. He was upheld. We were wrong. And we cost a local business a lot of money. And then we came back and he asked for a campground. We wouldn't give him the campground. And you talk about impacts. He's running a business. He's got to make money. If he doesn't do a campground, he's got to do something else. Because if he doesn't make money here, do we really want him to pick up and go someplace else? We've seen impacts for jobs. We've seen impacts on the community of Carver. What would a Carver be without an Edaville Railroad? I would suggest that most of the studies that we've done with the citizens of Carver say that we want agribusiness, that we want tourism and things like that. Well, if we can't work with Edaville Railroad to make that business strong and vibrant so it can survive into the next century, then Carver has been diminished in some real terms. We have to learn to work with them. I know the residents have concerns, but that doesn't mean that we can't work with Edaville to build a stronger community, to get the jobs that we need, to get the tax revenues we need to pay for our schools without going up on the taxes for every other resident. We have to learn to figure ways around that. We have to learn how to work with businesses in this town, how to make them stronger and not hurt everything else that's good about Carver. Drive around the Meadow Street area. Drive around Edaville Railroad and you find a nice rural park. There will be impacts if we don't address Edaville and allowing them to be profitable, allowing them to move into the next century. Would you rather see homes there? Would you rather see paved streets? Would you rather see lawns with chem lawn coming in and fertilizing them all, dumping that into the ecosystem in that area? I don't think so. I think that John has come up with a couple of interesting proposals for the use of that property, and we need to begin to support them. What happens when a business works with a community? If you want to know, do what I did. Look up the Assabet Valley Rail Trail and find out what John did for the people up there. He built a school, a field for the Assabet Valley Regional School. I went up and talked with a friend of mine when I found out about that. I went up and talked to the principal there, and he wanted to know what he could do to help John's problem down here, because John had helped them. John stepped up to the plate when they needed a hand. That's the model that we need to use in Carver. Figure out how can we help a local business survive, or else we can live with a development in there or something else that we don't want. Let's work with John. Let's work with Edaville Railroad. Let's keep that business here, contributing to the tax base and giving people a reason to come to Carver. What other reason do we have for people to come here? What good is tourism if there's no place for them to come? I think Edaville Railroad is an important part of this town, and I think we need to reach out this time and find out how we can work constructively with a very important local business to keep them strong. And that's really all I've got to say today. because I want my granddaughter to come down here and visit Edaville Railroad with her grandfather. I'm looking forward to that day.
Thank
Oh,
you, Paul.
one other thing,
But we also have to support and help the residents like in every other situation.
we can
Paul.
work together. but
Thank you.
We've got to work
Thank you,
together.
Paul.
The other thing that I'd like to mention is Edaville Railroad has contributed every single year to the Carver Sportsman's Club Scholarship Fund, enough to have done a scholarship and then some all by themselves.
Thank you, Paul.
Anybody else like to speak?
My name is James Carvel, 20 Shoestring Road, Carver. I mean, I can't add too much more that's already been said here. But I know John has a home in Florida. He could be just down there throwing out his fishing line and don't have all this aggravation. You know, I'm retired. I've been retired quite a while, and I've been working at Edaville for the last 6 years. I just work there part-time. And it's nothing but positive to me. I mean, people come in there and they just, they're happy, they're cordial, they have a heck of a time. And like I said, I have a lot of time in my hands because I'm retired, and I'm in a lot of places around here. I'm into this gas station, or Dave's Liquor, or Giorgio's, or anything else. And every time there's a function at Edaville, I mean, these people are thrilled. There's money pouring into these places. They're pouring into the gas stations. They're pouring in. I mean, a lot of money. And at Edaville, when I'm there towards the end of the day, I have many people come up to me asking me about town Plymouth. How far is Plymouth from here? You know, I said, you're only 10 or 15 minutes away, you know? So I know when they leave here, they're going down there, and they're going into the restaurants down there, and they're going to all the shops down there. And to me, it's just, like I said, I've been there a short time, 6 years, never, ever, ever seen a problem. Never. Never seen anybody drinking, never seen anybody with open containers. It's been a positive thing. And I mean, and like I say, it's been there forever. And I just think, like I said, John could be fishing. You don't have to do, and there's no guarantee in life that all the money he's putting in, there's no guarantees that he's going to get back. But I'm sure he is, but it's going to take years for him to get it back. So he, you know, you say either you put up or you shut up, and he put it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ed Riley, and I live in Carver for 22 years. I worked for this town for 12 years. And I retired, and I went to work for John Dully, and I'm telling you, it's the happiest day of my life. Now, first of all, it's not true about access to get into the park if there's an emergency vehicle. A vehicle will get into that park immediately. We were on the radio, and somebody's heard, bang, on the phone we go to the emergency 911, and there's a fire engine, police there, and the ambulance within 5 minutes. Because I know, because I'm at the main gate since day one, and I love it there. And I'm telling you another thing, it's the greatest place to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cynthia Sherman Lozon, 18 Lakeview Street. I did not grow up in Carver, but I went to Edaville every year when I was a little girl, and now I've been in Carver for 12 years, and I love that it's a family park, and I want to thank John for employing my kids, for inviting our families, all of Carver's families, every year to the park for free. And my kids are 6 to 20, and one of my kids even took the day off from working at Edaville to come to the park with us as a family. My kids all love it there. And as for traffic backup, somebody said it's quicker for him to walk to Dave's. It's quicker for me to walk to Cumberland from Lakeview Street when the King Richard's Fair is open. And that happens. We walk down our street with trash bags all the time. I get woken up from jet skis all the time. But I knew that when I moved to a full recreational pond. I mean, that's what happens. But thank you, John.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Helen.
How you doing? I'm Helen Maroney. I live on 8 Harvest View Way. I also serve as selectman for the town right now, but I am speaking at my own, not as a selectman. I have to say again, to reiterate that Edaville has been around since 1946. It's not only just a staple in this community, but it's a staple within the state of Massachusetts. And over the past week, I've had a few conversations with John and Brenda, and I have gotten to know him as not only a business owner, but as a man of pure character. And I've witnessed some of the hassles that John has gone through over the past several years, trying to get Edaville up and running. And just so, as a little bit of a brief summary, John has gone through thousands of dollars of the permitting, going through the Corps of Engineers, going through the DEP for the irrigation issues, going through appeals when the town thought it wasn't the right move. He's won them all. He's done everything possible, and he's moving forward on good faith that we have now said yes. And as a man of character, I know that if you go and speak with John about these issues one-on-one and not angry, he is a true partner. If you Google his name, John is known throughout Massachusetts. These are the things that I've learned about John. And just go to YouTube and look up the Hudson Railroad and the involvement that he's had. When a town wants to work with John, John is going to give back to this community. So not only will he help the residents, I guarantee you, but he is going to work as a partner with this whole entire community. I commend him, and we do have to think of this as a staple in the town, and I do feel for you. I always support the residents to the degree I can, as I did with the solar project on Purchase Street. I will be there for you to go and talk with John with you if you want, but I implore you all not to be angry with Edaville, but to embrace it, work with him through these issues that you have. I believe there was a traffic study done. I'm not sure if that was ever completed. I went to one of the planning board meetings. So he has already taken that into consideration, and I'm sure he will readdress some of the issues. But Google John's name, learn about who he is as a man of character, and he's a reflection of Edaville. And I think he's doing this out of the passion. Yes, he is going to be making money, but for the money he's investing, I'm sure he's going to be quite an older man by the time he seeks, any real reward from this. I think he's truly doing it out of the heart. He could walk away, and a subdivision would go up in that area. So I just implore you to really work with John and Brenda and make this a success for the community, and I wish you the best.
Helen, one moment, if I may. Helen, why do you think that the residents would come here and say all of these negative things?
Well, they're concerned because a lot of them, I believe a few of them have even admitted that they got on the tracks, if you will, in terms of learning about what's going on a little bit too late, that they didn't get involved. So now that they're involved, if they speak with John, they can get caught up to date.
Well, basically, I mean, all of these things that I wrote down, why do you think that they would come here and just
because
say all of
I think they just need to be educated a little bit more that there was the Corps of Engineers and it did go through DEP review. And
But that was for the tailgate recovery pond.
Okay, but-
That wasn't for these issues here.
No, I understand, and that's why I'm saying if they work with John, he will work with them to make sure that everything is taken care of. But we have to start working with John as a partner and not an adversary. And that's been done in the past.
I think we've always worked with him as a partner.
Well, I hope so. I hope
Thank
you
you.
continue to do so.
Thank you.
Jack Franny, 37 Forest Street, and I'm also Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. But like Helen, I'm here to speak in my own regard. John's putting a tremendous investment into this town. It's my job, it's part of my job throughout my career. I've traveled around the United States of America. And people always ask where you're from, and I tell them Carver, Massachusetts. No one knows where the hell it is. But you mentioned Edaville Railroad, and more times than not, people know where it is. You know, the investment he's going to make is going to generate additional tax dollars, and it's going to create some jobs. And I understand the concerns of the community, the people that abut it. If I lived down there, my name would probably be on that petition too. As a selectman, I'd like to intervene and maybe meet with some of these people and meet with John so we can resolve this. We had a problem up in North Carver when we put in a water district up there. People got betterment bills that they never anticipated getting. We worked with Paul Johnson in that regard and got them abatements. Some people got betterments of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and we got them abated down. Same thing with the solar out on Great Meadow Drive. The town's going to fight that. We're going to spend tax dollars on it. I want these people to know that we're not going to abandon them. We're going to be there for them, but we're going to be there for John. We need to all get together. Oh, by the way, you guys have done a great job as the planning board. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. I guess we'll let you come up.
Dick Ward, 20 West Street, citizen and selectman. I wasn't going to say anything, but the other two selectmen that are here spoke, so here I am. I've watched and I am very enthusiastic about our town and Edaville. I'm listening to some of the folks that live on the street nearby, and I'm thinking there must be some way that you folks can work, because they seem all to be somewhat supportive of Edaville and where it's going. And maybe Mr. Della Pasquale and the planning board and his planning folks could help work out some of the problems on traffic or whatever might come up. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick.
If I may. Dick, maybe some of the selectmen could work with some of the residents and put a committee together and resolve some of the issues.
Well, I think that the teeth of it, though, would be in the planning board.
Okay.
I mean, we can discuss it and with the residents, and then we'd have to present it to you folks.
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think that might be, and I think Jack Franey alluded to that, so maybe that's a possibility.
Thank you, Dick.
Well, I don't think that we have any problems here that the planning board couldn't look at, and especially when it's completed, we can go out and take a site walk, see what's going on out there. We can have some of the neighbors with us and maybe resolve anything that hasn't been done out there.
I was going to suggest that. I think Jack Franny's right. If John and Brenda would allow the residents to come on the site walk, much like we did back in April, I guess it was, of 2012, maybe after the site walk, we could sit down and try to hash some of this stuff out. I think, you know, everybody's right about this. That's the thing. Everyone's right. And maybe it is a communication, but I know Brenda's always on the phone with them because she's always on the phone with me. So I just think we need to sit face to face like, you know, reasonable people and come up with reasonable solutions. It's what it sounds to me. And I'd be happy to facilitate that.
All right, I guess everyone has spoken. And so, yeah, let's plan a
Don,
site
can we
walk.
schedule something?
Yeah. Sure.
Brenda?
I think, may I speak? Yes, please, go ahead, John. If you
Why don't you
can
come
go
up
up to
to
the
the
microphone
mic.
so
You can use,
everybody can hear
Or you
you.
can use this one, John, if you want.
I got yelled at about the microphones the other day.
Is this on? Hello?
Yep.
Okay. if it would please the planning board, I would prefer to, I have no problem with the residents on site walks, but I would like to do an independent site walk initially to go through the technical aspect of the plans, and then we can have another meeting and walk with the residents. I would prefer that, so we can get into some deeper engineering details, and so you'd understand it fully, so when the residents come out, I'm not trying to educate everybody. You'd have a good working understanding of what's going on. There's a lot to absorb. That's what I, I don't mean that as that you couldn't do it all at once. I just think it'd be more productive. Then we can answer more questions that the residents have constructively and accomplish more rather, but it's more, it is a little bit more of a burden for the board and a little bit more burden for me, but I think it'd be better for the residents.
It's our job.
Well, I just want to be, I know, Will, you need something to do, but,
Oh, yeah.
but no, in all honesty, I appreciate the board, and the board has been a partner with, and I listen, there's a chance here to have a world-class preschool attraction that people are going to come in, stay at the new hotel that's being built by Makepeace down on 195. It's going to be, it's great, and it's a wonderful thing, and if we all could work together, it would be such a breath of fresh air, to be candid with you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and John, if you'd indulge me for a moment, I wasn't going to say anything, but I guess being the most senior member here, and I think it'd be worthwhile mentioning to people at home. We've seen in the past 9.5 years that I've been on this board, many plans of Edaville. And prior to that, I saw many plans in conception of what Edaville might be, could be, should be, dreams of John's, his prior partners, stuff like that. There's no doubt in my mind that this board and other boards in this town have worked with John and worked with the neighbors in trying to strive towards some of the goals. To be honest with you, I never thought that I'd see Edaville come to this far, and how beautiful it does look, and some of the dreams that you've changed and you've brought forward that actually is going to come forward very soon. I have to commend you on that, because I didn't think it had ever happened. 9 years of working with you, sometimes in some not so pleasant atmospheres, but that's okay. That's the process that we go through. And for the citizen, the residents that are there, not every plan is good, not every plan is perfect. If you're listening to the people that are sitting up here and the selectmen that are in the audience and the other residents that we have to answer to, including you, there's no doubt in my mind that these issues can be addressed. You're always going to have a traffic problem at Edaville, but can we make it better? I'm sure we can try to. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want to see Edaville thrive. The tax dollars, the employment, all that's important, but the neighborhood is key. We hear you loud and clear. So I think that the 9.5 years that I've been on this board and seen the progress that's been made down there, not only to address the actual infrastructure of that site, but the area and the actual impacts to the environment, it will only make it better. It's only going to make it better. I'll ask you guys to reach out to us and work with us and work with John and try to get to a common goal. It's frustrating. I know you're frustrated, but we can get there. And we've had some tough meetings. I'm sure we'll have more as Edaville grows. Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
I know years ago, riding my mountain bike down the street and seeing Edaville deserted in the way it was, I couldn't believe it, and I'm just so happy that things are going ahead now and that Edaville is revived. And we would like to work with the people that live next to Edaville, and I'm sure that you would too. It would help your business and it would make everybody happy, so we'll certainly try to do this. So if we could schedule some time.
Yeah, I'm looking at either Monday, the 9th of September, or the 10th. This is just for the planning board.
Mhm.
At 5.
Sure, either one of those is good with me, whatever's Pretty- best for you guys. Pretty much everything should be done right about then, so when we bring the
Well,
plans and
a
stuff.
bulk of it will be, well, there will be some surplus fill that's put
Yep.
into a pile. And I don't know if I'll have all the trees in, but I have to kind of work between dates now.
Yep.
You know,
What about the 10th, Tuesday? Yes? At 5?
sure, then I could certainly, in-depth analyzing the thing, I could give you that on that date.
And then, I'm thinking with the residents, and I assume, Brenda, do you have mailing lists for them, or should I do that? Ellen's here. We get a mailing list. Ellen will do that. I was looking at, the 23rd, Monday, 5.
That's fine. Mondays are great.
It is for me too. So, residents of Butters will mail you, I promise you that. And we'll make sure Ellen gives us the latest, greatest mailing list. Ellen's our Board of Assessors.
Also, it might be, of course, we'll have these meetings, but, going forward, maybe there could be a few, 2 or 3 representatives from the neighborhood that would be kind of a way to,
Go working.
ongoing through the years. That there could be a little group there, so they can kind of consolidate the points, and then, we could address them. It's more productive that way. And I have no problem with that either, as a sign of good faith. God bless you.
Okay, want to make that motion, the 10th at 5 and the 23rd at 5.
I'd like to make a motion for the scheduled planning board meeting to be held at Edaville Railroad for September 10th at 5 PM.
Second?
Have a motion, a second, those in favor?
Aye.
23rd at 5.
I'd like to make a motion to set a planning board meeting for the September 23rd at 5 PM for the planning board, to meet with the residents there.
Second.
Motion, a second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Good, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Thank everybody for coming, and hopefully we'll get these worked out.
I know. Yep, absolutely. Just me and you.
Taller than me.
Yeah,
Hey, Dick.
16.
figure that one out.
He was a year old when we started.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we still have correspondence.
We got to address them.
Yeah. Right?
And she started.
You're right.
How are you?
All right, continue on, Mr. Chair.
All right, we'll,
Planners know? Planners notes, I think we need to go
yeah,
on to planners
yeah,
notes.
well, we gotta go to correspondence. We have a few other things
Brian
to
can
address.
stay. You can stay.
I didn't talk. It was under control.
Nice to see you, Brian.
Have a good evening.
You too, bud.
Bye-bye.
All right, we have correspondence.
Oh, there's not much. Again, there's the MEPA, the Massachusetts Environmental Protection Act quarterly meeting with Makepeace. Let me see. This might be a little old, huh? It says June 26th and 7th. I don't know why I got it so late. I got it on August 8th. So there you go. Sorry about that. Also, I'm very sad to report, and I think you all know, that we did not get our CDBG grant this year. Very sad about that. We are actually having a meeting tomorrow morning with the Halifax town administrator, our interim town administrator, and our grant writer to go over why we didn't get it and to strategize on whether we're gonna go for it again, which I hope we do.
Yep.
That's too
and then
bad,
the
Jack. That's too bad.
It is. The real reason, when you boil it down, it was so competitive, first off, was that they asked for investments that the town has made in the target areas, and we have. We've done road repairs, bridge repairs, foreclosure stuff, all these things we do in these target areas, which were Crystal Lake, Meadow Street, and Cranberry Village, and Pine Tree. But Halifax didn't, and that's where we lost.
Oh,
Their
okay.
target areas, they didn't invest in.
Because we would joint with them.
And we were joint with them, and we lost 10 points. And it's all points.
Now, do you think it would behoove us the next time to do it alone, or can't we do that?
Doing alone is suicidal, because you get an extra 5 points by having, or 10 points by having a partner community.
Okay.
The question we have is, we already know if we're gonna apply now, it's for the investments for this calendar year. So the question to Halifax, are you investing in your neighborhoods now? Because if you're not, we're gonna have to find another partner,
Right.
or wait.
Hmm.
So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. The last thing, and I know we just scheduled 2 more site visits, but the owners of Southern Sky on Ravenbrook landfill, the solar, would like you to come and visit for a site visit.
That'd be
I'd love to
great.
do that, yeah.
They are looking at the week, next week, if I could indulge you guys. Maybe Monday, the 26th at 5?
Sounds great. Make a motion for the schedule a site visit at Southern Sky for Monday, the 26th at 5 o'clock.
26th, I think, Monday the 26th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I got.
Yeah,
Motion
Monday's
to
the
adjourn.
26th.
What's that?
Monday is the 26th.
Yes. It's really cool up there. I'm telling you, it's immense. Kathy Kay should come too.
Yep.
What was that, at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
You'll send out a reminder?
Yeah, we'll post. I'll send out a reminder. Hopefully Kevin and Chad can make it.
Did a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good